It was supposed to be an ordinary night, the kind of night where people board planes with tired smiles, half-finished coffees, and plans waiting on the other side of the world.
Passengers on flight MH370 to Tokyo Narita, please proceed to the boarding gate. Thank you for flying with us.
But March 8th was not an ordinary night. It was the night Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 took off and never came back. At Kuala Lumpur International Airport, families hugged their loved ones. A father traveling for business promised he'd return in 4 days. A mother comforted her young daughter, explaining that airplanes were just big flying buses. And a son, 29 years old, waved one last time at the woman who raised him. Her name was Amina, a widow, a mother, a woman who only had one child left in her life. And that night, she watched her son disappear into the crowd, boarding a flight she never imagined would become the greatest mystery of our century. 12:41 a.m. MH370 lifts off the runway, smooth, silent, carried by the night. The pilots greet the tower, the passengers settle into their seats. The lights dim, a world asleep. And then calmly, softly, the cockpit sends its last known words, "Good night." Malaysian 370 never knew that would be the last time the world ever heard from them. 40 minutes later, the aircraft vanished from radar. Not slowly, not gradually, instantly. One moment, it was a moving green dot. The next, absolutely nothing. Air traffic controllers stared at blank screens, confused. They called the pilots again and again, but MH370 was gone. Hours passed before the news reached the families. Amina's phone rang at 6 a.m. She answered, half asleep, expecting to hear her son had landed for his connecting flight. But instead, a cold voice said, "We've lost contact with MH370. The phone nearly fell from her hands. What do you mean lost contact? Planes
We've lost contact with MH370.
Then came something even stranger.
Vector
Military
change
radar
detected on
captured something
MH370.
civilian. Radar had missed. MH370
he's
had
making
made
a
a sharp
sharp turn
U-turn.
back
A big
towards the
commercial
coast.
jet turned around suddenly and flew back across Malaysia, completely off course. No one knows if the passengers were awake, if they were afraid, if they even knew what was happening. But the aircraft continued, westward, then south, deep into the Indian Ocean, one of the darkest, most unforgiving places on Earth. It flew for 7 more hours, 7 hours, on a silent path to nowhere. As the world searched, families waited in agony. Amina sat alone in her living room, holding her son's jacket close to her chest. She replayed the last message he sent. "Don't worry, Ami. I'll call you when I land." She whispered back into the phone, again and again. "I'm waiting, Beta. I'm still waiting." Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Pieces of debris washed ashore across the Indian Ocean. A wing fragment, a door panel, a small part of the cabin. But these pieces brought more questions than answers, because if MH370 crashed, where was the rest of the plane? The search crew scanned millions of square kilometers, using sonar, drones, submarines, everything human technology could offer, and still nothing. Investigators came up with theories, cold, scientific, unsettling. One theory said the plane might lie 4,000 to 6,000 meters below the surface, swallowed by trenches deeper than mountains at all. Another theory suggested the pilot may have gently landed the plane on the ocean, a controlled ditching, causing it to sink almost whole. A third theory argued that the plane might not have gone south at all, but north toward Central Asia, slipping quietly through radar blind spots. No theory fully made sense. No theory brought the plane home. But while the world debated, families were frozen in time. Amina kept her son's room untouched, bed made, books stacked, a worn-out photo of them together sitting on the table every night. She sat by the window, staring at the sky, waiting for a message that would never come. She often whispered, "If you survived, find a way. If you didn't, send me a sign." But the sky remained silent. Then came the day that broke her. The airline announced,
All passengers of MH370 are presumed lost.
as if a sentence spoken at a press conference could erase 239 lives. Amina collapsed where she stood. Neighbors carried her back into her home. She didn't cry, not loudly.
We've got you,
her
we're
pain
right
was
here.
quieter, like the missing plane itself, a silence too heavy to measure. Years passed, searches continued. Countries spent billions. Technology advanced. But MH370, still missing. Amina still waits, not with hope, but with something deeper. A mother's refusal to accept a world where her son simply vanished into thin air. She visits the beach every year on March 8th. She walks to the water's edge, lets the waves touch her feet, and whispers, "Where are you, Beta? Where did you go?" The wind never answers, the sea never speaks. And so the question remains, where is MH370? Beneath the cold, crushing blackness of the Indian Ocean, hidden intact like a ghost ship frozen in time, or somewhere else entirely, still waiting to be found. No one knows. Maybe one day a fisherman's net will catch a strange piece of metal, or a satellite will notice a shape where there shouldn't be one maybe. The ocean will finally give up its secret, but until that day, MH370 flies on, not in the sky, but in the unanswered questions of the world, and in the silent heartbreak of those still waiting.